Hello, everyone, and welcome to the October edition of #OnwardLebanon, a show airing monthly here on Lebanon Channel 6. I am your host, Todd Yohe, and I serve the Lebanon community as the superintendent of the Lebanon City School District. #OnwardLebanon is designed to provide viewers with an insight into the Lebanon schools, its people, its students, and its programming. The taping of this episode is October 13th, 2020, and that is important because some of the information contained in this show may change over time. Joining me today is Mr. Scott Butler. Scott is the principal of Lebanon High School, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him and life at Lebanon High School. Before we have that conversation, I do want to update viewers on some important information. It was announced a few weeks ago that all students in the district were eligible for free breakfast and free lunch through the rest of the calendar year. We learned yesterday that the federal program making that all possible has been extended to the rest of the school year. This means that all students in the Lebanon City School District will be eligible for free breakfast and free lunch for the rest of the 2019-2020 school year. There is no application process. If your child gets a regular breakfast or a regular lunch, there will be no charge. Charges will be applied to a la carte items and extra food selected by students. You can contact your child's school for additional information. A reminder that parents and students are still expected to perform a daily screening for COVID symptoms before coming to school. If your child has a fever over 100 degrees, loss of taste or smell, headache, sore throat, cough, or digestive issues, they should remain at home until those symptoms subside. In addition, anyone who has received a COVID test should not come to school until they have received the test results. So Scott Butler joins us today on #OnwardLebanon. Scott is the principal at Lebanon High School. And Scott, how long have you been principal at the high school?
So I am starting my 10th year. So in year number 10, before that I was an assistant principal for 9 years at Lebanon High School. So came to Lebanon High School in 2002 and have loved being here ever since.
So you have been at the high school almost 20 years.
That's getting close.
Half as an assistant principal and the other half as the principal. And I know just from knowing you that you came up through the normal path that principals do. What'd you teach?
I taught math, taught 8th grade math my first 6 years, and then I moved and taught high school math for a couple years. Received a call from the administration at Lebanon Schools at the time, and I thought, well, I'll come up and talk. I really did not have a burning desire to be going to administration,
Sure.
but came up and met the administrative team and came on board and fell in love with the schools and fell in love with the community.
Yeah, you know, I've talked to a lot of administrators, myself including, that went down the administrative path really at the encouragement of others. People saying, you'd be a good principal or you would be a good superintendent, and those types of things. And that kind of gets in your head, yeah, right? And then you start thinking about it. And before you know it, you're sitting in the chair.
I know, right.
And so from Southwest Ohio, correct?
Yes, we moved to Fairfield in 1985. Lived around as a kid, lived in New York and St. Louis. I'm from Alabama originally, so I do catch a little bit of grief from lots of Ohio State fans about my Alabama Crimson Tide roots.
Yeah, I've noticed some of that Roll Tide stuff in your office before. Let's talk a little bit about Lebanon High School. Believe it or not, this is the last week of the first quarter of school. We were one of the first districts really in the state to start school, certainly the first in Southwest Ohio. Our kids have been in class or online since the 17th of August. And now this week brings us to the end of the first quarter. Tell us about the first quarter of school in this age of COVID.
Wow. Overall, it's been fantastic. I have been talking with lots of parents, lots of students, lots of community members. Just absolutely thrilled with the way things have gone. You know, Todd, over the summer, lots of planning, lots of meetings, lots of discussions. We had a plan together. We thought was a pretty good plan. We just weren't sure. Once the students rolled in, the first week was a little bit shaky. We had some positive cases, had to quarantine some students, but I felt like we got our feet underneath us as we continued to learn. Our students continue to learn. Our staff continues to learn about what we should and should not do. It's been great. It really has been great.
Yeah, and I think that really goes back to the planning that was done over the summer, and the expectations that we put in place, the simulations that we ran, and really from the kindergarten class through the senior class, through all of our staff members, it really has been a joint effort in providing the safest climate that we can for our students. And I'll still argue with anyone that the safest place for a child right now is in school. Because we just have, we have all the precautions in place. Everyone's wearing a mask, everybody's social distance, and you don't get that when you're everywhere, when you're out in the public, or when you're at an event or a family gathering and those types of things. And so, when you really think about it, I really do think that one of the safest places for people right now is in a school building, right, because of all of those things. What's been the most challenging part of starting school this year?
The most challenging, coming into it, we anticipated just a lot of unknowns. So I would say early on, the challenge was learning the rules of COVID, quarantining, isolation, social distance. What's the best the best approach from that? Now that we are almost through 25% of the school year, I think the biggest challenge that I've heard from staff, I asked the same question to our teachers when we had our staff PD a couple weeks ago, and what I heard and what I have heard from a lot of them is it's been difficult getting the same excitement, I think, because classes are a lot smaller, which is great from a teaching standpoint, but I think kids are a lot quieter, which is great from a classroom management standpoint. But the face coverings, definitely, it's hard to hear, and it's just you get less banter, joking around back and forth. So I've heard from several teachers it's been a little bit more difficult connecting with students, which is huge for learning. So they've had to really double down on their efforts in connecting with each and every student. I think a teaching struggle that we've been trying to figure out is because we're limiting group work, like we're trying hard to stay socially distanced. So if there is a positive, so kids stay safe, and then if there is a positive case, we have to quarantine as few students as possible. So we've been trying to look at group work and partner work in a different way, trying to bring in technology within the classroom, and so we're doing group work, but through here across the room. So we've definitely it's been a learning curve for everybody, for our staff, for our administration, and certainly for our students also.
Absolutely, and next week we start the second quarter of the first semester, and that 9 weeks will probably fly by just like the first 9 weeks did. And then, of course, we're going to have the opportunity for students who are in the virtual learning academy, the online students. They're going to have an opportunity to come back to school, and the students who are currently attending Lebanon High School or other schools in the district are going to have an opportunity to go to online if they wish to do that. What worries do you have about students coming back to school, making that transition?
I think the biggest worry is the actual transition, and we're used to transitioning students. And we had a meeting with our guidance department yesterday. And the conversation we talked about was like, look, we have new students who move in at all points throughout the entire year, freshman, sophomore, junior, and even seniors. We have seniors who move in fourth quarter of their senior year. So we are used to helping students see where they are, make the right adjustments from a schedule. The teachers are used to kind of students coming into their classroom at some point throughout the semester or some point throughout the year. But I think what's worrisome on this is we don't know what the volume's going to be. We know that there's going to be transitions. We know that our online curriculum, VLA or PLP, is not aligned perfectly with our in-school curriculum. So there's definitely going to have to be some adjustments on everybody's part. So I think that right now is one of the worries, knowing that we have some students who really have not been taking advantage of the academic part on the online session, knowing that they're going to be coming back and we need to get them back on track educationally. So we were meeting yesterday, putting a plan together and what that's going to look like for those students. And then I think the third biggest worry is the reason we feel like it's working is because at the high school we have about 350 students who are doing the online component. So that has allowed us to have smaller class sizes. That has allowed us to, in most of our classes, we're over 6 feet apart. I should say, I think over half of those classes. So my biggest fear from that standpoint is if all 300 plus students come back to option one and come back to the high school, what does that look like? So that will change our quarantining. That will change how we do things quite a bit. So I think there's still a lot of question marks in the air about those transitions.
Yeah, and just to let parents know that might be tuned in, you will start receiving information next week regarding the second semester and our planning purposes. You're going to be getting another survey, much like you did over the summer about returning to school. And so we're really going to run second semester very similar to how we did first semester in the gathering of data, the gathering of information from parents about their plans for second semester. That will give us the numbers that Scott referenced, and then we'll be able to make plans accordingly based on what those numbers are. And I agree with you. We talk and we've spent time talking about second semester and the plans for that, but it really comes down to what is our in-person enrollment going to look like for second semester. And I would join you in the concern that one of the reasons that we've been able to have such a great reopening and first quarter anyway has been the fact that we have close to 1,000 students K-12 that are receiving their instruction online. And if we upset that balance, then it's going to create some additional challenges for us. But we're up to that challenge, I think, and
absolutely.
And we'll get those numbers, and then we'll do whatever we have to do accordingly.
We'll make it work
to make it work exactly. And so I don't want to spend the entire time talking about COVID and the pandemic. We certainly, that has dominated our
right.
our conversations for the first 9 weeks or so, well, even over the summer. But what else exciting is happening at the high school?
Well, one thing I definitely have to say before we change the topic from COVID, the students and the staff have been fantastic. Coming into the year with the mask mandates and trying to figure out what that was going to look like, we have talked a lot, and I have heard repeatedly from our staff, excuse me, that the kids have been wonderful. We have asked, and they have absolutely delivered. So, and I think part of the reason why it has been a successful first quarter is because of the students and the staff have really been great. So I had to say that because
it's a great point.
It's been wonderful.
It's a great point, and I'm glad you did. And I'll extend that to K-12. You're talking about the high school staff and students, but really across the district. We just, the staff and students have been great about the mask wearing, following the distancing protocols and so forth. And as a result, we haven't had a lot of cases. We've had more quarantines than what we had hoped. But in terms of actual positive cases, we've had very few. And to the best of my knowledge, none of those cases have been contracted at school. The folks know where they contracted the virus, and then unfortunately, tested positive for it, so they have to isolate, and then the people have to quarantine who were exposed to them. But yeah, good. But that's a point well made. That's a point well made. So what else is happening?
So exciting things at the high school. So as we have tried to figure out really what we're allowed to do and not what we're not allowed to do. So a couple programs I'm really excited about that are pressing on as normal. We're in a partnership with Warren County Career Center and our Teacher Academy, and Tony Crawford is our teacher for the Teacher Academy. So we've been able to start getting our rising educators, students who have an interest in potentially going into the teaching profession, out into the elementary schools, out into classrooms to do some shadowing, to do some mini lessons, and things like that. So that was a huge, exciting point for us. We weren't sure if that was going to be able to move forward or not. Also, we have it's the third year of our program, Career Experiences, which is around internships and getting students experiences in multiple careers. Right now, it's a senior-only program. We're in the process of opening it up to juniors beginning next year. We really feel like this is a fantastic program. Bunny Brooks is our teacher. She works with all of the local businesses. I'm sure there aren't many business owners around Lebanon who don't know the name Bunny Brooks, who haven't heard or who have not heard of the Career Experiences program. So we're really excited. And every time we're like, man, how do we get more kids into this program? So I think because of the changes we've made with some credit requirements and things like that, we're starting to talk about what does a student's senior year look like? Are there options to do where maybe somebody's doing an entire year internship their senior year if they have a lot of their academics taken care of? So we're really trying to individualize programs for kids, what meets their interest, and whether they're college bound, whether they want to be a doctor or a lawyer, or they're ready to enter the workforce right away. So a lot of exciting things going on in that realm. In the athletic world, we are one quarter in. We have Keith Pantling is our current athletic director. He's been on the job for, I guess he started August 1st or July 1st, I think was his official day.
And it was baptism by fire.
It was. Keith, they all don't start out like this, trying to figure out, is there going to be athletics or not be athletics? He's done a fantastic job. He's definitely have heard from coaches and from kids. They see him around at everything. He brings a different perspective, a different view, and looking at Lebanon athletics and how to continue to move us forward. I just had an email this morning on his kind of grand vision, looking at facilities and places. And so I just think although we can focus on COVID and we try not to, we're still moving forward. We have to continue to still push the envelope and move forward with learning, move forward with athletics, move forward with school life the best that we can in a safe manner.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. We've had that discussion as an administrative team, certainly that the challenges that come with the pandemic have certainly occupied a lot of our time and a lot of our planning and so forth. But we need to move on. And we need to manage and monitor the safety and those types of things. But we also have to move on with educating students and providing a program that's challenging. And we're all about providing opportunities for kids and looking at making sure that those opportunities are still there. And if they're not, are there some alternate ways that we can offer some of the same experiences? And so I know that we have a lot of student groups and clubs and so forth at the high school. Have they been able to carry on as school started?
Yes, they have. That was when we started the year, kind of talked with all the advisors and said, like, hey, we already have some things in place with athletics, because that was what we were doing on the summer, waiting from OHSAA. So regarding a lot of our additional groups, I asked advisors, if we can wait for 2 weeks, let us get school going, let us figure out what we need to fine tune with all of our cleaning and our sanitation and our seating charts, right, and all the things that are necessary. So we started meeting with all of our clubs and groups after school and a lot before school as well. They get there early about a month ago. And that has been rewarding because one of my goals for students is when everybody graduates from Lebanon High School, I want them to be able to look back on their Lebanon High School experience and have fond memories about their time at Lebanon High School. And certainly the academic portion is huge and is very important, but it extends beyond that, and it extends with getting tied in and plugged in to your school and your group of friends under the umbrella of the school, whether it's a club before school, whether it's we have lots and lots of student groups. So we do activity fairs every year. We try and get kids plugged in. That we have a wide variety of clubs for students to join. And I always tell them, if there's a club we don't have and you're interested in starting, come meet with me. Let's talk about it and let's see if we can get it going. So seeing them meeting and knowing that they're able to start doing normal things that we want kids to do in a safe environment has been fantastic.
One thing I've been impressed with, and this goes back to the student body, are those club leaders and those organization leaders that want to carry on some traditions. They want to move on with some programming and so on, but they've accepted that they have to make changes to it so that it's safe, that it's within the safety protocols, and I think they've done a pretty good job of doing that.
They have two that come off the top of my head. So we started probably 10 years ago. We call it Senior Walk. It's typically it's the last home football game. All seniors, they line up in the end zone and then they walk across to their class song. And parents are there, they take pictures. It's a pretty emotional environment. A lot of students spend a lot of time in the stands at that stadium. So unsure if it was going to be able to happen, and it was great because I had Keith Pantling, our AD, who was really in my ear, like, Scott, we need to make this happen. He was meeting with the war zone leaders, and then we were able to make it happen, because we have to have limited attendance at the game per OHSAA. Keith was able to work out a plan. Students came in after the stadium was empty. Students came in, parents came in, they lined up. That's a nice tradition that we've had for many years. That is a moving experience for kids and for their families. So I think it's important that we as a district continue to try and how can we continue with traditions that we have in place, even if that means we have to change the way we do it. Another one I just talked to you on the way over here this morning. Our student council works closely with the Lebanon Food Bank. They've done a trick-or-treat for cans where they go door to door on trick-or-treat night to collect cans for student council. So I will tell everybody now that they are coming here. They will be coming to your door. So if you can, donate to the canned food drive. But so it's things like that. That's great to see kids doing. But always we're reminding them about the safety measures and things like that, because we want kids to be able to do all the things that they would normally do. We just have another variable now that we have to make sure we remember.
Yeah, and I would say if you want to participate in the can drive, the food drive on Halloween on Trick or Treat night, and you really don't want that interaction, just leave it on your porch. And our kids will come around and pick it up. And if you want to throw a candy bar in there or something,
Butterfingers.
Butterfingers. Yeah, they'd probably appreciate that.
Those are for the principal.
That as well. Well, Scott, we've spent some time talking about life at Lebanon High School right now, and I know that we're all working, but you're working especially hard, trying to make it as normal an experience as possible. I think people have somewhat accepted that, we're going to have some things that are different, for our kids right now, and we don't really know how long that's going to last, but we're certainly making a lot of efforts to try and make it as normal as possible and carry on some of those traditions. We haven't been able to say yes to everything, but I feel good heading into the second quarter of school. If I would have, as I was, thinking about school starting over the summer and so on, there were times where I would just think, this is all going to blow up. How are we going to do this?
Right.
I had plenty of people telling me that, oh, this will never work, and then, you'll be closed by the end of the first week, and so on. But we're just all very fortunate and happy that it's turned out the way that it has.
And I have to say, like over the summer, like with our friends and people and parents who we know and we see, and like I heard, and I'm sure you did too, I heard repeatedly, Scott, we want our kids back in school. We want our kids in school. That's where they need to be. So I think that's another reason it really has been a community effort, not without its bumps, and certainly we're not perfect and have made some mistakes along the way, but I think it really has been rewarding to see everybody working together and to be able to have our kids back at school where we know they need to be.
Right.
So it's been I feel very blessed to be in this position and very fortunate for us to be in school and still be going strong, almost
Absolutely.
25% of the way through.
There you go. And like I said, before you know it, it'll be the end of the first semester, and we'll be celebrating that as well, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Well, I want to thank Scott for
Thank you.
joining us for this edition of Hashtag Onward Lebanon, and I want to thank you for tuning in. Hashtag Onward Lebanon airs monthly here on Lebanon Channel 6. And again, thanks to Scott for joining us. To learn more about the Lebanon City School District, follow us on Facebook at Lebanon City Schools, or check out our website at lebanonschools.org. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of those around you.